disagree on many issues. There's deep divide. On one thing, they don't disagree, and that's voter ID. The latest polling I've seen on this shows that 81% of Americans think that's a common sense requirement, one that states should have. And that's a majority of people. It doesn't matter whether they're Democrats or Republicans or independents. It doesn't matter whether they're black or white or Asian or Hispanic. They all think this is a good idea. North Carolina finally got an ID law in place after a huge, long fight over it. Pennsylvania is a little bit better. No, they don't have an ID law, but Pennsylvania actually was one of the states that banned private funding of election offices, which is a good thing. Ohio has made a number of improvements. Wisconsin's a little bit better. One of the few states that's gone backwards in terms of battleground states, unfortunately, is Michigan. Michigan passed a law. They actually had a voter ID law in place, and they passed a law gutting it and getting rid of it in large measure.
And when you're talking about better or worse, you're talking about purely in terms of voter ID or overall?
Oh, overall.
Okay. And what are you like? What are your measures here that you're?
Well, in fact, the Heritage Foundation where I work, we launched an integrity, basically scorecard, an election integrity scorecard in December of 2021, and we grade every state based on 50 different criteria. So it's everything from whether or not you require an ID to vote for both in-person absentee balloting, but also what do you do to clean up your voter rolls? Make sure they stay accurate. How do you put measures in place to take people off who have died or, for example, have moved out of state? That's a key measurement of a state. As you know, that's been a matter of controversy just lately because a number of states have actually taken aliens, non-citizens, off the voter rolls. And they're now being sued by the Biden-Harris Justice Department for taking aliens off the voter rolls.
Well, yeah, so maybe explain to me that situation, because it might
Sure.
not be clear how they got on the voter rolls in the first place and just what this whole process looks like.
When you register to vote, there's a question on the form you fill out asking you whether or not you're a U.S. citizen. And unfortunately, states aren't really verifying that. So if you are a non-citizen, but you say, yes, I am a citizen, you'll get registered to vote.
So it could just be by mistake.
It could be by mistake, but it could also be, intentional.
Sure.
The result of that is that Virginia, for example, recently started checking its voter registration rolls by checking other state databases like DMV, driver's license records. And they discovered that there were individuals who, when they went to get their driver's license, produced documentation showing they were not U.S. citizens, but they were also on the voter registration list. And so Virginia took about 6,300 aliens off the rolls. Texas found about 6,500 aliens on the rolls. And, I'm sure people look at that and say, well, okay, that's maybe a small number. They're both big states, but take Virginia, right? In Virginia, where they took 6,300 aliens off the rolls. In the last 15, 16 years, Virginia has had 2 statewide attorney general races decided by less than 1,000 votes. So it could make a difference in a close election.
Hans, we're going to take a quick break right now.
Okay.
And we'll be right back. About this.
Right.
And how do you understand it? How does Heritage understand this?
Look, the biggest problem across the country is that we have an honor system for registering. So states are not doing anything to verify that you actually are a U.S. citizen. And there's an unfortunate political party divide on this, which there shouldn't be. As you know, there was a bill proposed in Congress, the SAVE Act, which would require states to get proof of citizenship when people register to vote Republicans even tried attaching it to the continuing resolution to keep the government running. Unfortunately, that came down to a party line vote with one side in favor of this and the other side saying, no, we don't want to verify citizenship. Again, I actually think that's an area where the leadership of that particular political party, if they talk to their constituents, they would find that it doesn't matter whether people are Democrats or Republicans. They do not want non-citizens voting in our elections.
Well, and there's another dimension to this, come to think of it, because when it comes to the census, right, of course, census counts everybody that's in the country.
Right.
But as I understand, congressional redistricting happens based on not the number of citizens, but the overall number of people that have been counted in each place. So what is the impact of that on voting?
That is a real problem. Apportionment happens